The Celestial Garden was the biggest food court on Nexus 7 space station. Thousands of aliens from different planets came here every day to eat and rest. The massive hall stretched so far that Jiho could barely see the other end. Giant windows showed the stars and passing spaceships outside. The smell of 100 different alien foods filled the air. Jiho pushed the control stick on his hover wheelchair forward. The chair hummed softly as it moved through the crowd. His sister Hyun walked ahead of him, carrying 2 trays of food. She kept looking back to make sure he was following her. "Stay close, Jiho," Hyun said. Her voice sounded worried. "This place is too crowded today." Jiho nodded. He was used to crowds. He had been in his wheelchair since he was born. His legs did not work because of a problem with his spine. But the hover wheelchair was amazing. It could float over stairs and move in any direction. His parents had bought it for him last year when they started traveling to different space stations. Hyun stopped walking. She looked around the huge food court with frustration on her face. Every single table was full. There were so many different types of aliens sitting and eating. Jiho saw blue-skinned Zenthari with glowing eyes. He saw tall Kryll who looked like bears standing on 2 legs. There were small crystalline beings that sparkled like diamonds. Some aliens were so strange that Jiho did not even know what to call them. "I cannot find any empty table," Hyun said. She sighed. "Maybe we should just go back to our room and eat there." But Jiho was not listening to his sister anymore. His eyes had found something interesting. At the far corner of the food court, there was a large table. It had 8 chairs around it. But only one being sat there. And what a being it was! The creature was massive. It had to be at least 8 feet tall, even while sitting down. Its body was covered in dark red scales that looked like armor. 2 large wings folded against its back. The wings had holes and scars in them. The creature's face was long, with a powerful jaw and sharp teeth that showed when it breathed. Golden eyes stared down at the food in front of it. Smoke came out from its nostrils with each breath. A Drakari warrior. Jiho had seen pictures of them before, but never a real one. The Drakari were famous across the galaxy. They were strong fighters who had won many wars. Most species were afraid of them. Nobody sat at the Drakari's table. In fact, other aliens had left the tables near him empty too. Everyone was giving him space. The warrior ate alone, and nobody dared to come close. "Jiho, what are you looking at?" Hyun asked. Then she saw where her brother was staring. Her face went pale. "No. Absolutely not. We are not going over there." "But sister, look at all those empty chairs," Jiho said. He pointed at the table. "There is plenty of room." "That is a Drakari warrior, Jiho. They are dangerous. Everyone is staying away from him for a good reason." Hyun grabbed his wheelchair. "Come on, let us find somewhere else." But Jiho pulled his wheelchair away from her hand. He had made up his mind. He did not understand why everyone was so scared. The Drakari was just sitting there, eating his food quietly. He was not hurting anyone. And besides, Jiho was tired of standing around. His back was starting to hurt. "I am just going to ask," Jiho said. "The worst he can say is no." Before Hyun could stop him, Jiho pushed forward on his control stick. His hover wheelchair moved toward the Drakari's table. He heard his sister calling his name behind him, but he did not stop. Other aliens moved out of his way quickly. Some of them stared at him like he was crazy. As Jiho got closer, he could see more details about the warrior. The Drakari had many scars on his scales. Some were small, but others were long and deep. They told stories of battles and fights. The warrior's left wing was especially damaged. It looked like it had been hurt badly and never healed right. Jiho stopped his wheelchair next to the table. He was so small compared to the massive warrior. The Drakari did not look up at first. He just kept eating something that looked like meat, using his clawed hands to tear pieces. Jiho cleared his throat. His heart was beating fast, but he tried not to show that he was nervous. "Excuse me, sir," Jiho said in his small voice. The Drakari stopped eating. Slowly, very slowly, he turned his large head toward Jiho. Those golden eyes locked onto the boy. They were like two suns, burning and bright. The warrior's nostrils flared, and more smoke came out. The entire food court became silent. Everyone stopped talking. Everyone stopped eating. All eyes were on the small human boy in the wheelchair and the giant Drakari warrior. Jiho felt his mouth go dry. But he had come this far. He could not back down now. Share this table? Jiho asked. The question hung in the air. Time seemed to stop. Hyun had caught up and stood frozen a few feet away, ready to grab her brother and run. The Drakari stared at Jiho for what felt like forever. His eyes studied the boy carefully. They looked at the wheelchair, then at Jiho's face, then back at the wheelchair. The warrior's expression was impossible to read. Was he angry? Surprised? Nobody could tell. Then something unexpected happened. The corner of the Drakari's mouth moved slightly. It was not quite a smile, but it was not a frown either. Slowly, the warrior lifted one massive clawed hand. He pointed at the empty chairs around the table. Sit, young one, the Drakari said. His voice was deep and rough, like rocks grinding together. But it was not angry. It was almost gentle. Jiho's face lit up with a big smile. Thank you, sir. He moved his wheelchair to the table and positioned it near a chair. Hyun stood there shocked for a moment, then quickly brought the food trays over. She sat down carefully, watching the Drakari warrior like he might suddenly attack. But the warrior just went back to eating his food. He did not say anything else. He just occasionally glanced at Jiho and Hyun with those golden eyes. Other aliens in the food court slowly started talking again. But they kept looking over at the strange sight of two small humans sitting with a Drakari warrior. Some whispered to each other. Some shook their heads in disbelief. Jiho picked up his food and started eating. He was happy. He had found a table, and he had met a real Drakari warrior. This was turning out to be an interesting day on Nexus 7 station. The warrior watched the small human boy eat. Something in those ancient golden eyes had changed. Perhaps it was curiosity. Perhaps it was respect. Or perhaps it was the beginning of something that nobody in the galaxy would have ever expected. A friendship that would change everything. For the first few minutes, nobody spoke at the table. Jiho ate his noodles while Hyun picked at her rice. The Drakari warrior continued tearing pieces of meat with his claws. The silence was heavy, but not uncomfortable. At least not for Jiho. Hyun kept glancing at the warrior nervously. Her hand stayed close to Jiho's wheelchair, ready to pull him away at any moment. She had heard too many stories about the Drakari. They were warriors who had fought in the Andromeda campaigns. They had destroyed entire fleets. They did not make friends with humans. But Jiho was different. He had never been afraid of things that other people feared. Maybe it was because he had faced fear his whole life. Fear of never walking. Fear of being different. Fear of being left behind. Compared to all that, a big alien with scales did not seem so scary. Your wings are beautiful, Jiho said suddenly. Hyun's eyes went wide. She kicked her brother under the table, but Jiho ignored her. The Drakari stopped eating. He turned his head to look at Jiho again. Those golden eyes studied the boy carefully. Beautiful, the warrior repeated. His voice rumbled. They are broken, young one. Look at them. The warrior spread his wings slightly. Jiho could see the damage clearly now. The left wing had large holes in the membrane. Scars ran across both wings like lightning strikes. They were damaged badly. They would never work properly again. They still look amazing, Jiho said honestly. I have never seen real Drakari wings before. In the pictures on the net, they always look so smooth. But yours tell stories. Each scar is like a battle you survived. The warrior stared at Jiho for a long moment. Then, something impossible happened. The corner of his mouth turned up slightly. It was small, but it was definitely a smile. You are a strange human child, the warrior said. Most beings look at my wings and see weakness. You look at them and see stories. What happened to them? Jiho asked. Jiho. Hyun whispered harshly. Do not be rude. But the warrior raised one clawed hand. It is fine. The child asks an honest question. He folded his wings back against his body. I was in the Battle of Theta Station. Enemy fire damaged my left wing. It saved my squad, but I could never fly properly again after that day. That was brave, Jiho said. It was duty, the warrior replied. I am Drakmer, of the Red Scale clan, though I no longer carry that name with honor. Why not? Jiho asked. Drakmer was quiet for a moment. He looked down at his food. Among my people, a warrior who cannot fly is not a complete warrior. When I returned home after my injury, my clan said I brought shame. They sent me away. Jiho felt a familiar pain in his chest. He knew exactly what that felt like. People had said similar things to him his whole life. Not a complete person. Limited. Broken. The words were different, but the hurt was the same. I think that is wrong, Jiho said firmly. You are still a warrior. Flying does not make you brave. Your actions do. Drakmer looked at the small boy in the wheelchair. Really looked at him. And what about you, young one? I see you have your own battle. Jiho looked down at his wheelchair. I was born with a problem in my spine. My legs do not work. They never have. And this makes you sad? Jiho thought about the question. Sometimes. Mostly when people treat me like I am broken. Or when they think I cannot do things. But my sister and my parents never treat me that way. They know I can do lots of things. Just differently. Hyun's expression softened. She reached over and squeezed Jiho's hand. Drakmer nodded slowly. You have wisdom beyond your years, young one. And courage, too. You approached me when all others feared to come close. Why would I be afraid? Jiho asked. You were just sitting here eating. You were not hurting anyone. But I could hurt someone, Drakmer said. I have the strength to crush metal with my hands. My teeth can bite through steel. My claws can cut stone. But you do not use them to hurt people who are nice to you, right? Jiho asked. Drakmer actually laughed. It was a deep rumbling sound that made the table vibrate. No, young Jiho. I do not. Before anyone could say more, 3 large figures approached the table. They were KRYLL, the bear-like aliens that Jiho had seen earlier. Each one was huge, with thick brown fur and small angry eyes. They smelled like alcohol. Look at this, one of them said in a loud voice. The mighty Drakari warrior sits with tiny humans. Has he become soft? The other aliens in the food court became silent again. Everyone turned to watch. This was dangerous. KRYLL were known for starting fights when they drank too much. Drakmer did not move. He just kept looking at his food. Walk away, KRYLL. I have no business with you. But we have business with you, the biggest KRYLL said. He pointed at Jiho. Look at this weak little human in his floating chair. Why do you waste your time with such pathetic creatures? Jiho felt his face get hot. He had heard words like this before, but they still hurt. Hyun stood up quickly, pulling Jiho's wheelchair back. We should go, she said quietly. But before they could move, Drakmer stood up. The Drakari warrior rose to his full height of 8 feet. His wings spread out, damaged but still impressive. His golden eyes blazed like fire. Smoke poured from his nostrils. The 3 KRYLL suddenly looked much smaller. You speak of weakness. Drakmer's voice was low and dangerous. This human child showed more courage in approaching me than all of you combined. He saw a being, not a beast. He asked a simple question with respect and kindness. Drakmer placed one large clawed hand gently on Jiho's shoulder. The touch was careful, protective. He does not judge me for my broken wings, Drakmer continued. He does not mock me for being cast out from my clan. He sees who I am, not what I have lost. That is true strength. The warrior leaned forward, and his voice became even quieter. Question his worth again, and you question mine. And I promise you, KRYLL, you do not want to question a Drakari warrior, even one with damaged wings. The three KRYLL looked at each other. The alcohol in their blood was not enough to make them that stupid. They could see the danger in Drakmer's eyes. Without another word, they turned and walked away quickly. A human in a security uniform rushed over. His name badge said Officer Taeyong. Is there a problem here? No problem, Drakmer said, sitting back down. Just some drunk KRYLL who forgot their manners. They are leaving now. Officer Taeyong looked at Jiho and Hyun, then at Drakmer. He seemed confused by what he was seeing, but he nodded. All right. If they bother you again, call station security. He walked away, following the KRYLL to make sure they left. Jiho looked up at Drakmer with wide eyes. Thank you for defending me. Drakmer shook his head. I did not defend you, young Jiho. I stated facts. You showed courage. They showed fear hiding behind false strength. The warrior sat down again and picked up his food. Besides, nobody insults my table companion. Hyun slowly sat back down too. She looked at Drakmer with new eyes. Maybe this Drakari warrior was not as dangerous as she thought. At least not to them. They finished their meal together, talking about stars and planets and ships. Jiho told Drakmer about his dream of becoming a starship pilot one day. Drakmer listened and did not laugh or say it was impossible. He just nodded and said, then you will need to study hard. When they finally got up to leave, Jiho turned to Drakmer one more time. Can we eat together again tomorrow? He asked. Drakmer looked surprised. You want to sit with me again? Of course, Jiho said, smiling. You are my friend now. The word hung in the air. Friend. Nobody had called Drakmer a friend in a very long time. The warrior felt something strange in his chest. Something warm. Yes, Drakmer said quietly. We can eat together again tomorrow. I will be here. As Jiho and Hyun left the celestial garden, other aliens stared at them. They had witnessed something unusual. A human boy and a Drakari warrior, sharing a table. Sharing stories. Becoming friends. And in the cold vastness of space, where different species often feared and hated each other, this small moment of friendship was more powerful than anyone realized. 3 days had passed since Jiho first sat at Drakmer's table. Every day, Jiho came back to the celestial garden. Every day, Drakmer was there waiting. They ate together, talked together, and slowly became real friends. Hyun was less worried now. She saw that Drakmer was gentle with her brother. The big warrior was careful with his claws and never raised his voice around Jiho. Sometimes she even left them alone for a few minutes while she got dessert or drinks. On the 4th day, Jiho had a new idea. He wheeled himself through the station's entertainment district with Hyun following behind. They passed shops selling strange alien items, theaters showing movies from different worlds, and game arcades filled with flashing lights and sounds. Where are we going? Hyun asked. I want to show Drakmer something, Jiho said excitedly. The big arcade has starship simulators. I saw them yesterday. Real ones that feel like you are flying an actual ship. They found Drakmer near the arcade entrance. The warrior looked out of place among the bright colors and happy sounds. He stood like a dark statue, watching young aliens run in and out of the gaming center. Drakmer. Jiho called out, waving. The Drakari turned and his golden eyes softened when he saw the boy. Young Jiho. What brings you to this loud place? I want you to try the flight simulators with me, Jiho said. Have you ever played them? Drakmer shook his head. I have not. Games are for younglings. I am a warrior. Please. Jiho asked. Just try it once. It will be fun. Drakmer looked at the boy's hopeful face. He sighed, smoke coming from his nostrils. Very well. But only because you ask. They entered the arcade together. Other people stared at the massive Drakari walking through the game center. Some parents pulled their children closer. But Drakmer ignored them. He followed Jiho to the back where the flight simulators stood. The simulators were like small ships. Each one had a cockpit with a chair, controls, and screens that showed space around you. Jiho had saved his credits for weeks to play these games. He had only tried them once before, but he loved it. "You sit here," Jiho said, pointing to one simulator. "And I will sit in this one next to you. We can fly together in a team battle." Drakmer looked at the simulator seat. It was made for humans or smaller aliens. "I do not think I will fit." "Try it," Jiho encouraged. Drakmer carefully squeezed himself into the cockpit. His wings had to fold tightly against his back. His shoulders barely fit through the opening. But he managed to sit down. He looked at all the controls in front of him with confusion. "There are so many buttons," Drakmer said. A young human walked over to them. He wore a worker uniform with a name tag that said Deho. He was maybe 20 years old with messy black hair and friendly eyes. "First time playing?" Deho asked Drakmer. "Yes," the warrior admitted. "Let me help you set it up," Deho said. He was not afraid of Drakmer at all. He reached into the cockpit and adjusted some settings. "There. I put it on training mode. The computer will help you learn the controls." "Thank you," Drakmer said, surprised by the young human's kindness. Deho then helped Jiho get settled in his simulator. He made sure the controls were at the right height for the boy's wheelchair. "You have played before, right? I remember you from last week." "Yes," Jiho said happily. "I love these games." "Good luck," Deho said, stepping back. "I will be around if you need help." The game started. Jiho's screen showed empty space with stars everywhere. A small fighter ship appeared in front of him. His ship. He grabbed the controls and felt the simulator move slightly, making it feel real. "Drakmer, can you see your ship?" Jiho asked. "Yes," came the warrior's voice from the next simulator. "It is small. Very small." "Now use the stick in front of you to move," Jiho explained. "And those buttons fire your weapons." They started flying through space together. Jiho was good at this. He had practiced on smaller games at home. His ship moved smoothly, avoiding asteroids and shooting at practice targets. Drakmer struggled at first. His large claws were not made for the small human controls. He kept hitting the wrong buttons. His ship spun in circles and crashed into asteroids. "This is harder than real battle," Drakmer grumbled. But slowly, the warrior started to understand the game. His tactical mind began working. He learned which buttons did what. His ship stopped crashing and started flying with purpose. "You are getting better," Jiho said. They played for an hour. Then another hour. Deho brought them water and snacks. Other people gathered to watch the strange sight of a human boy and a Drakari warrior playing games together. On their fifth round, something interesting happened. The game put them in a team battle against two computer opponents. Jiho was good at aiming and shooting, but Drakmer showed something special. Even in a game, his warrior instincts were sharp. He knew when to attack and when to defend. He protected Jiho's ship while the boy focused on targeting enemies. They won the battle easily. "That was amazing," Jiho said, his face glowing with excitement. "We make a great team." Drakmer climbed out of the simulator. For the first time since arriving at the station, he looked truly happy. "That was enjoyable. I did not expect that." Deho walked over with a smile. "You two have really good teamwork. Have you thought about entering the tournament?" "Tournament?" Jiho asked. "Yes," Deho explained. "Every month, the station holds a gaming tournament. Teams compete in different games, including the flight simulators. The winners get prizes and get to compete in the bigger Core Worlds Championship." Jiho's eyes went wide. "Really? Can anyone enter?" "Any team of 2 can enter," Deho said. "The next qualifying round is in 1 week. You should sign up. Jiho turned to Drakmer with hope in his eyes. Can we do it? Please? It would be so much fun. Drakmer looked down at the small boy. A week ago, he had been alone, eating in silence while others avoided him. Now he had a friend who wanted to be his teammate, who saw him as someone worthy of trust and partnership. I am not good at these games, Drakmer said slowly. But you will get better, Jiho said. We can practice every day. And we already work well together. You saw it yourself. Drakmer was quiet for a moment. Then he nodded. Very well. We will enter this tournament. But we must train hard. Jiho cheered so loudly that everyone in the arcade turned to look. Hyun laughed at her brother's excitement. For the next week, Jiho and Drakmer came to the arcade every day. They practiced for hours. Daeho helped them, giving tips and adjusting the controls to work better for both of them. He even made special grips for Drakmer's claws so he could press the buttons more easily. Word spread through the station. People heard about the human boy and the Drakari warrior who were practicing for the tournament. Some laughed. Some said they had no chance. But others came to watch them practice, curious about this unusual team. Jiho learned to trust Drakmer completely. When enemy ships came from behind, he knew the warrior would protect him. Drakmer learned to trust Jiho's aim. When they needed a perfect shot, the boy never missed. They were different in every way. One was small and young, the other was huge and old. One had never walked, the other could no longer fly. One was human, the other was Drakari. But in the simulators, they moved like one mind in two bodies. On the day before the tournament, they sat together in the celestial garden at their usual table. Other aliens no longer avoided sitting nearby. Some even nodded at them in greeting. The friendship between Jiho and Drakmer had become normal. Are you nervous about tomorrow? Jiho asked. I have faced enemy fleets in real battle, Drakmer said. A game should not make me nervous. He paused. But yes, I am nervous. I do not want to disappoint you. You could never disappoint me, Jiho said seriously. You are my best friend. Drakmer felt that warm feeling in his chest again. And you are mine, young Jiho. Tomorrow, we will show them what friendship can do. Neither of them knew that others were watching. Others who did not like what they saw. Others who would try to stop them. But that would come tomorrow. Tonight, they were just two friends, sharing a table, sharing a dream. The tournament day arrived with excitement buzzing through the station. The main arcade had been transformed into a competition arena. Hundreds of aliens gathered to watch the games. Large screens hung from the ceiling showing the matches to everyone. The air smelled like popcorn and strange alien snacks. Jiho wheeled himself through the crowd with Hyun pushing from behind. Drakmer walked beside them, his large form making people move out of the way. They found Daeho waiting for them near the registration desk. There you are. Daeho said with a smile. I was getting worried. The first round starts in 20 minutes. We are ready, Jiho said confidently. His hands gripped his wheelchair controls tightly. He was nervous, but excited. They registered as Team Bridge. Jiho had chosen the name because he said their friendship was a bridge between humans and Drakari. Drakmer had agreed, though he did not fully understand what the boy meant. The tournament organizer, a purple-skinned alien with 4 arms, looked at their registration with doubt in his eyes. A human child and a Drakari? This is your team. Yes, Drakmer said firmly. Is there a problem? The organizer shook his head quickly. No problem. Good luck. But his tone said he thought they would lose badly. Their first match was against a team of 2 Zenthri. These aliens had silver skin and moved very fast. They were known for being excellent gamers. When Jiho and Drakmer sat in their simulators, the Zenthri laughed. This will be easy, one of them said loudly. A broken Drakari and a crippled human child. Jiho felt his face get hot, but Drakmer placed a gentle claw on his shoulder. Words mean nothing. Our actions will speak for us. The match began. The Zenthri were fast, very fast. Their ships zipped around like insects. But Jiho and Drakmer had something the Zenthri did not have. They had practiced together every day. They knew exactly what the other would do. When enemy ships attacked Jiho from the left, Drakmer was already moving to block them. When Drakmer needed cover to recharge his shields, Jiho was there firing at enemies to keep them back. They moved together like a dance they had practiced 100 times. The Zenthri were confused. Their speed meant nothing against perfect teamwork. In 10 minutes, the match was over. Team Bridge won. The crowd cheered. Hyun jumped up and down clapping. Daeho whistled loudly. Even the tournament organizer looked surprised. They won their second match too. And their third. Each time, they faced teams that looked stronger and more experienced. But each time, Jiho and Drakmer's teamwork was too good. By the end of the day, they had made it to the semi-finals. That night, Jiho could barely sleep. Tomorrow would be the semi-final match. If they won, they would go to the finals. If they won the finals, they would represent Nexus 7 Station at the Core Worlds Championship. But while Jiho dreamed of victory, others were making dark plans. In a private room on the station, 3 people met in secret. One was a human man named Donghyun. He was a councilman who worked in the station government. He did not like aliens very much. He especially did not like seeing humans and aliens being friends. "This is unacceptable," Donghyun said, his face red with anger. "A human child partnering with a Drakari? It makes us look weak. It sends the wrong message." With him was a Drakari named Vraksh. Unlike Drakmer, Vraksh had perfect wings and no scars. He wore the symbols of the Red Scale clan, Drakmer's old clan. "I agree," Vraksh said coldly. "Drakmer brings shame to all Drakari. Playing children's games with a disabled human. He should have accepted his exile quietly. Instead, he parades around this station like he has no honor." The third person was silent, just listening. He was the tournament organizer. "What do you want me to do?" the organizer asked nervously. "Make sure they lose the semi-final match," Donghyun said. "I do not care how. Just make it happen." The organizer nodded. He needed his job, and these were powerful people. He left the room quietly to make arrangements. The next morning, Jiho and Drakmer arrived at the arcade early. They wanted to practice one more time before the semi-final match. Daeho was already there, checking the simulators. "Everything looks good," Daeho said. "Your match is in 2 hours." They practiced for an hour. Everything felt right. Their timing was perfect. Their communication was smooth. Jiho felt confident they could win. When the semi-final match started, the arena was packed. More people had come to watch today. Everyone wanted to see if the unusual team could really make it to the finals. Their opponents were a team of professional gamers, 2 humans who played in tournaments across the galaxy. They were good, very good. But Jiho and Drakmer were ready. The match began. For the first 3 minutes, everything went well. Jiho and Drakmer were winning. Then suddenly, something went wrong. Drakmer's controls stopped responding correctly. His ship spun wildly. Buttons did not work when he pressed them. "Something is wrong with my simulator." Drakmer called out. "Keep trying." Jiho shouted back. He tried to cover for his friend, but it was too hard. Without Drakmer protecting him, enemy ships attacked from all sides. Then Jiho's controls started glitching too. His weapons would not fire. His shields would not activate. Within minutes, they lost the match badly. The crowd went silent. Jiho sat in his simulator with tears in his eyes. They had been so close. Drakmer climbed out of his simulator, his face dark with anger. "The equipment failed," Drakmer said to the tournament organizer. "We demand a rematch." The organizer shook his head. "Equipment problems are part of the game. The rules are clear. No rematches for technical issues." "That is not fair." Hyun shouted. She had seen how well they were doing before the equipment failed. Daeho rushed over to check the simulators. He opened the control panels and his face went pale. "These have been tampered with," he said quietly. "Someone sabotaged them." Officer Taeyong, who was providing security for the tournament, came over immediately. "What did you say?" "Look," Daeho showed him the inside of the simulator. "These wires have been cut and reconnected badly. This was done on purpose." Officer Taeyong's face became serious. "This is sabotage. This is a crime." He turned to the tournament organizer. "The match must be replayed." The organizer looked nervous. I do not have the authority to make that decision. The tournament committee must decide." "Then get the committee," Officer Taeyong demanded. While they waited, Jiho wiped his eyes. He looked up at Drakmer. "Someone did this to stop us." "Yes," Drakmer said, his voice like thunder. "Someone who fears what we represent." The tournament committee gathered. They looked at the evidence. They argued for an hour. Some said the rules were clear, no rematches. Others said sabotage changed everything. The crowd waited, getting restless. Finally, Jiho could not stay quiet anymore. Even though he was just a child, even though his voice was small, he wheeled himself forward. He looked up at the committee members standing above him. "Please listen to me," Jiho said. His voice was shaking but clear. "My whole life, people have told me I cannot do things because of my wheelchair. They judge me before I even try. They decide I am weak without knowing me." The crowd became very quiet. Everyone listened. "Drakmer faced the same thing," Jiho continued. "His people cast him out because of his damaged wing. They decided he had no value. But we proved them wrong. We worked together. We won our matches fairly. And someone sabotaged us because they are afraid." Jiho's voice grew stronger. "Afraid of what? Afraid that a disabled human and an injured Drakari can be strong together? Afraid that friendship matters more than perfect bodies? If you let this sabotage stand, you are saying those fears are right. You are saying we do not deserve a fair chance." The arena was completely silent. Hyun had tears running down her face. Drakmer stood tall behind Jiho, his hand on the boy's shoulder. "Is that what the galactic community believes?" Jiho asked. "That some beings matter less than others?" One of the committee members, an old alien with wise eyes, stood up. "The boy speaks truth. This sabotage is not just against one team. It is against fairness itself. I vote for a rematch." Other committee members nodded. One by one, they voted. The decision was made. Team Bridge would get their rematch tomorrow. The crowd erupted in cheers. People who had never cared about the tournament before were now invested in this story. The video of Jiho's speech began spreading across the station's network. By evening, millions of beings across the galaxy had seen it. But Jiho did not care about fame. He only cared about one thing. He looked up at Drakmer and smiled. "We get another chance." "Yes," Drakmer said softly. "And this time, nothing will stop us." The rematch day came with even more people than before. The arena was so crowded that station security had to turn people away at the doors. Beings from all over the station wanted to see what would happen. Jiho's speech had touched something deep in many hearts. This was no longer just about a game. It was about something bigger. Jiho woke up early that morning. His stomach felt nervous, but his mind was clear. Hyun helped him get ready, making sure his hover wheelchair was fully charged. Their parents had returned to the station the night before, and they hugged Jiho tightly before he left for the arena. "We are so proud of you," his mother said. "No matter what happens today." Drakmer met them at the arena entrance. The warrior looked different today. He stood taller. His eyes burned with determination. This was not just a Drakari who had been cast out. This was a warrior with purpose again. Daeho had spent all night checking and rechecking the simulators. He had installed new security measures. "Nobody has touched these," he promised. "I stayed here all night to make sure." Officer Taeyong was there too, along with extra security. "We caught the saboteurs," he told them quietly. Councilman Donghyun paid the tournament organizer to tamper with your equipment. They have both been arrested. And the Drakari who was with them? Drakmer asked. He had seen Vraksh in the crowd yesterday. Vraksh left the station last night, Officer Taeyong said. But we have his statement. He admitted being part of the plan. Jiho felt some satisfaction knowing the truth was out. But it did not change what they had to do today. They still needed to win this match. The semi-final rematch began at noon. The arena lights dimmed. Spotlights focused on the two simulator pods. Jiho and Drakmer climbed into their seats. The crowd cheered so loudly that the floor shook. Their opponents, the two professional human gamers, looked nervous now. Yesterday they had won because of sabotage. Today would be a fair fight, and everyone knew Team Bridge was good. The match started. Immediately, Jiho felt the difference. The controls responded perfectly. Everything worked exactly as it should. He pushed his ship forward into space, and Drakmer's ship appeared right beside him. "Ready, my friend?" Drakmer's voice came through the communication system. "Ready," Jiho replied. The battle was intense. The professional gamers were skilled. They had been playing these games for years. They knew every trick and strategy. But Jiho and Drakmer had something special. They had complete trust in each other. When 3 enemy ships surrounded Jiho, he did not panic. He knew Drakmer would come. And the warrior did, his ship sweeping in from above, scattering the enemies with precise fire. When Drakmer's shields were low and he needed time to recharge, Jiho flew in front of him, drawing enemy fire while dodging every shot with movements he had learned from a lifetime in a wheelchair. Moving, adapting, surviving. The match lasted 20 minutes. It was close, so close that the crowd held their breath. Then, in the final seconds, Jiho and Drakmer executed a move they had practiced 100 times. Jiho drew all the enemy ships to one location. Drakmer came from behind with full weapons charged. In one perfect strike, he destroyed both enemy ships. Team Bridge won. The arena exploded with noise. Aliens of every species cheered. Hyun cried and laughed at the same time. Daeho threw his arms in the air. Even the other competitors clapped and whistled. Jiho climbed out of his simulator with the biggest smile on his face. Drakmer emerged from his pod and immediately scooped the boy up in his large arms, lifting him high. The warrior's golden eyes shone with joy. "We did it!" Jiho shouted. "No," Drakmer said, his voice thick with emotion. "You did this. You believed in us when nobody else did." They advanced to the finals. But the finals would not happen until next week. They had time to rest and prepare. More importantly, they had time to understand what they had started. Over the next few days, everything changed. Jiho and Drakmer's story spread across the galaxy. News networks showed Jiho's speech. They showed the rematch victory. Messages came from thousands of beings, many of them disabled or cast out like Jiho and Drakmer. They said the story gave them hope. Daeho's adaptive technology designs, the special controls he had made for Drakmer, got attention from major companies. They wanted to make gaming accessible for all beings, not just those with standard bodies. But the most surprising message came from the Drakari homeworld. The clan elders sent a communication to Drakmer. They had watched his matches. They had seen his courage and skill. They wanted to restore his honor and welcome him back to the clan. Drakmer read the message in his quarters with Jiho sitting beside him. When he finished, he was quiet for a long time. "Will you go back?" Jiho asked quietly. He would be happy for his friend, but he would miss him terribly. Drakmer looked at the small human boy who had changed his life. "They cast me out when I was broken. Now that I am famous, they want me back. But I am the same being I was before. My wing is still damaged. Nothing has changed except their opinion." "So what will you do?" Jiho asked. "I will stay here," Drakmer said firmly. "With my true clan. With you." The finals arrived. The arena was filled beyond capacity. Beings watched on screens throughout the station and across multiple planets. This had become the most watched gaming tournament in galactic history. Their opponents in the finals were the defending champions, a team that had won 3 years in a row. They were skilled and experienced. They did not underestimate Team Bridge. The final match was the hardest battle Jiho and Drachmer had ever faced. The enemy team was brilliant, using strategies that Jiho had never seen before. For every move Team Bridge made, the champions had a counter. At the halfway point, they were tied. Both teams had won equal rounds. The next round would decide everything. Jiho's hands were sweating on the controls. His heart pounded in his chest. This was it. Everything they had worked for came down to the next few minutes. Jiho, Drachmer's calm voice came through. Remember why we started this. Not to win. Not to prove others wrong. We did this because we are friends. Whatever happens next, that will never change. Jiho took a deep breath. Drachmer was right. The friendship was what mattered. The rest was just extra. Let us show them what friends can do, Jiho said. The final round began. Both teams fought with everything they had. The battle raged across virtual space. Ships exploded. Shields failed. Weapons overheated. It was chaos and beauty at the same time. Then came the moment. Drachmer's ship was hit badly. His shields were gone. One more shot would destroy him. 3 enemy ships moved in for the kill. Jiho had a choice. He could protect his own ship and survive longer, or he could save Drachmer and risk everything. He did not hesitate. His ship swept in front of Drachmer, taking hits meant for the warrior. His shields held for just a moment, long enough for Drachmer to recharge. And Drachmer did not waste the chance. The warrior's ship came alive, weapons blazing. He destroyed one enemy ship, then another. Jiho recovered and took out the third. In the final seconds, with both teams nearly destroyed, Jiho and Drachmer fired their last shots at the same instant. Both enemy ships exploded. Team Bridge won the championship. The arena went absolutely wild. The noise was so loud it hurt ears. Aliens jumped and danced. Strangers hugged each other. It was more than a game victory. It was a victory for everyone who had ever been told they were not good enough. Jiho and Drachmer were lifted onto a platform to receive their trophy. The tournament director, a different one since the old organizer was in jail, placed medals around their necks. "You have shown the galaxy something beautiful," the director said. "You have shown us that our differences make us stronger, not weaker." That night, there was a celebration in the Celestial Garden. Tables that used to separate species were pushed together. Humans sat with Drakari. Zenthri laughed with Kryll. The food court that had once been filled with fear and division was now filled with joy and unity. Jiho and Drachmer sat at their original table, the one where it all started. A small plaque had been placed on it earlier that day. It read, "Reserved for champions and friends." "What will you do now?" Hyun asked them. "You are famous. You could do anything." Jiho and Drachmer looked at each other and smiled. "We will keep being friends," Jiho said simply, "and help others see that being different is not being less." A small Drakari child approached their table. She had a damaged leg and walked with a limp. Her parents followed nervously behind her. The child looked up at Drachmer with wide golden eyes. "Excuse me," she said in a tiny voice. "Share this table?" Drachmer's face lit up with the warmest smile anyone had ever seen on a Drakari. He gestured to the empty seats. "Always," he said. "There is always room for one more." The little girl sat down, and her parents sat beside her, tears in their eyes. Around the food court, other beings who had felt alone or cast out began to gather. The table filled up. Then the tables around it filled too. What had started with one simple question had grown into something beautiful. A community. A family. A bridge between all beings who had ever felt broken. And at the center of it all sat a human boy in a hover wheelchair and a Drakari warrior with damaged wings, proving to the galaxy that the strongest bonds are not built on perfection, but on accepting each other exactly as we are. The question "Share this table" had become something more. It had become an invitation to share this galaxy, this life, this journey together. And the answer would always be yes.